think we're gonna work on our homework. The first three, they're kind of from the co-rec class, really not in this section, but I do want to make sure you're using your calculator properly. So take out your calculator that you would use during the exam, not your phone, and make sure you know how to plug things in. These two exponents are fours. I think you can do that one, it's a zero. And it tends to round to the hundredth on everything. So for those who are just coming in, using your calculator that you would use for your exam, find these three round to the hundred. For attendance, take a picture of any of the problems we do today from the board. Anytime you see blanks, unless it says explain afterwards, you just have to fill in the blanks. So these beginning problems, you just have to write the answer. Not that you have to print this, you can just put A and the answer, B and the answer. You don't have to write sentences until number 4. It's 5. Yeah, because 4 is a table. Number 5, you need sentences. It's the only one in this assignment. Now for an exponent, depending on your calculator, most calculators have a caret button. It looks like this. Some of them have x to the y or y to the x. We're getting 18 point, and it's 008. But we're rounding to the hundredth. This 8 will make this a 1. So rounding to the hundredth, did you get 18.01? If not, please ask. Can't ask during the exam. E function it should be one of the ones you have to use a second for. It's like above your LN button. So wherever your natural log button is, it should need second in that button. Like my LN's usually on the left. This calculator is right here. So I hit second in LN. You have Texas Instrument. It's just a little lower, but it's still on the left. So you hit second and your LN button. If your calculator doesn't have it, it's in there somewhere under the trig usually. I forgot to bring that calculator. If you do not have the calculator that you like, this one's nice. It's the TI-30X2S. It works really well when you're plugging in values. We're going to have one that is finding what a house payment would be. It's a big formula. And this one works nice if you need something that's not expensive. You can get it at Walmart for $10. You can get it on Amazon. Well, last time I got it, it was $6. And it comes in 2 days if you have Amazon Prime. So second in the LN button will bring up E and a caret. Unless you have a TI-84, then it just puts it right up in the exponent. And then you put your 4 and close the parentheses, and you should get 50 something. 54 point. No, we have to round to the hundredth. 10's hundredth, that's here. This 8 then rounds this to a 10, which rounds this to a 6. But on a test, 54.6, I don't know if you were rounded to the 10th or the 100th. So if you need to round to the 100th and it's a 0, put the 0. It's significant. Any questions on that? So if you have to round to the 100th and the 100th position is a 0, you need to put it. How about the last one? What do you get?
0.
1.
Yeah.
Anything to the 0 power is 1. So 5 to the 0 is 1. Pi to the 0 is 1. E to the 0. Anything to the 0 power is 1. So if I make a big, huge problem and put it to the 0 power, it's just 1. Any questions on that? Okay, number 2. You deposit $7,000 into an account and make $50 interest per year. Answer the questions that follow. Linear or exponential?
Exponential.
One of them, who's right? Linear, because it's the same amount every time. You're putting $50 in every single time.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I thought it was 1-to-1 where it's like 50 on top of 50 on top of, and then like.
Yeah. You were thinking of the interest.
Yeah.
It's okay. Better to have an answer than not saying. So this one is linear because it's growing by the same dollar amount every time. Go ahead and our linear is y equals mx plus. It's up to you. It says T years. It's up to you if you want to make the X a T or not. What did you get for the slope for M? Anyone?
50.
And then X or T? And what is B?
7,000.
The starting amount, 7,000. So this is the rate. It goes up by 50 every year. So 50 per year. This is the starting amount. We start with 7,000. Because at time 0, we'd have 7,000. How much is in the account after 25 years? Would we plug 25 in for T or Y?
B.
T. Yes, because it's time. And what do we get?
8,250.
Okay, $8,250. Is that what everyone's getting? Oh, that was linear. The next one's exponential. The reason it's exponential is because it's growing by a percent. So on a test, you would need to be able to explain the difference between linear and exponential. Linear grows by the same amount every time or decreases. And exponential increases or decreases by a percent. So go ahead and do B and C. For the equation, our initial amount was 7,000. Then our rate is 0.12, because remember you have to write it as a decimal. You could have put 1 plus 0.12 or 1.12. And then your variable for time, T. Any questions on the equation? We already know we plug in 25 for T, so plug it in and see what you get. A really large number.
119,000 political cents.
Yep. $119,045. Any questions on that? Is everyone getting 119,000? So for all of these, for those who came in after I said it, you don't have to write a sentence until number 5. Any questions on 1, 2, or 3? So number 4, make a table. Make sure you take a picture of one of the problems. I guess I started erasing this one. If you haven't already for your attendance, you can take a picture of that problem on the board. Go ahead and fill in the table. The x's that are in the formula, those just mean multiplication, and since we have a parenthesis, you really don't need them. For attendance, just take a picture of one of the problems that I do on the board. And don't forget to type your seat number in. Okay, so for the first one, what do we get for initial amount? Initial amount's kind of easy. It's always at the beginning, outside of the parentheses, so it'd be 800. Is this one increasing or decreasing?
Increasing
It's increasing by how much?
6%.
Our formula adds the 1. So here we need to subtract the 1. If it's positive, it's an increase. And this is the rate, so you have to multiply it by 100 to get the percent, which means it's 6%. An increase of 6% by. Second one, what's the initial amount? Increase or decrease? Decrease. Because when we take the 0.88 and subtract 1, I get a negative 12.
Yeah.
So it's a decrease of 12%. Any questions on that? You just subtract 1. The in-class portion of your exam, 1 through 5, are probably all on it. The last one, because it uses Excel, will be on your take home. But your final may be all in class. So you will need to bring your laptops. for the final.
You said we need them.
Say that again,
You said we need them.
for the final. I'm gonna send an email out and see. I think there's only maybe 1 to 3 people in each of my classes that have a tablet instead of a laptop. Well, first of all, you can get them free from the Bog Library to borrow for each semester. But if they don't, we'll have to use the computer up here for those parts. So on the final, you do need to have your technology. But I'll be sending an email out. So for the third one, initial amount was 500, and then did you get an increase?
Yeah.
Of 22%? Last one, 96 for initial amount, increase or decrease? Decrease. Decrease. Because when we take 5,500 and subtract 1, we get a negative 4,500. Which is a decrease of 45. Any questions on that? Yes.
Why would the initial amount be 500?
Oh, it shouldn't be. It should be 550. Thank you.
I was making sure. I was
No,
looking
you're
for-
right. Thank you. The initial amount will be whatever's in front. You don't need to do anything to it. Thank you. No one else is gonna sing. Any questions? Number 5. I thought this was one of the more interesting ones from your book. On April 9th, 2011, the New York Times reported that a pawn shop opened in the Blockbuster store. The borrowers are given 60 days to pay back the loan, and La Familia charges a 20% interest per month. So for a $100 loan, the borrower would need to pay back $140 after the 60 days. Explain why 20% interest per month on a $100 loan for 2 months would actually require a little bit more than $140. Then we want to find the annual interest rate. So first, how much would it be instead of $140? Anyone find it yet?
$144.
Does everyone agree with that? There's 2 ways you can do it. You can do the $100 and find 1 month, which would be 120. And then you have the 120 that, since you didn't pay it, you pay another 20%, which gives you 144. The reason it's not 140 is because it's paying the interest on the money from the interest the month before. And that keeps calculating in there. You could have also used our formula for exponential because interest is exponential. Starting amount was 100, 1 plus our 20% to t, and then t would be a 2 because it was 2 months. So a little bit more than the 140. So this is not always good. But any questions on it? So you need to explain why it's 144 instead of 140, because in the second month, you're paying also 20% on the interest that you earned the month before. So in a couple sentences, make sure you write that. Any questions on that? I'll give it a couple minutes to write. Just a couple sentences to explain. So for the second part, they want us to find the annual interest rate. When you're finding a combined interest rate, because we're combining for the whole year, you take your new, or relative percentage. You need relative percentage. New minus old divided by old times 100 to make it a percent. But we don't know what the new balance would be. So what we need to find first is how much we would owe in a year. How can we find that? We have a formula.
Plug in 12 for T.
Plug in 12 for T because 12 months in a year. So we would use our formula. And then use your relative percent change to find the percent. Old would be original, which is your starting amount, 100. This is why you don't want to owe the law. Okay. For Y, for a year, or what are we getting? Anything want to say?
But you come in there with all to do.
Is everyone getting $891? So what interest rate are we getting? So the annual rate is 791.61%. Just write it in a sentence. The annual rate would be 791.61%. It did say round everything to the hundredth, so I would keep the 2 decimal places. Any questions? So number 5, make sure you have sentences. Any questions? Okay, so I'll leave this up for a second, but then I'm gonna take it down, I'll just read it, because I'm gonna bring my Excel up. But it says to open an Excel file and type into each column under its letter as shown. So A month 1, In column B, put Antonio and $100, and in C, Marcello and time. In column A, use a formula in row 3 to continue adding 1. Then drag it down to show 48 months. Want to put a formula here and then go all the way down to, it'll be the 49th row to show your formula. So you're taking the one before and adding 1, so that it has 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, for formula, you want to start the formula here. It starts with equals the one before, and then plus 1. Now, if you do not have your computer with you, you still have to turn in this Excel sheet. So you'll have to do it at home. If you have questions, let me know. So for the formula, we put A equals A2 plus 1. Then you go into the corner. So you want that little plus sign, not the one with arrows, and not the one that looks like red cross. This, and drag it all the way down so that it shows 40. Oops, I need to go one more. 40. If you want lines on these and highlight them, and then lines are this little box here. And you want the one that shows them all blocked in. It says all borders. And then I put your lines. You don't have to do that, but it just makes it easier. The last thing it says is click on A30, what formula is there? So we go down to A30. And our formula equals A29 plus 1. I guess that's another thing I could do on the end class is ask you what formula you would use to type it in. Any questions though? So now go to Antonio. Antonio, suppose in college, 2 friends decide to save money. Antonio decides he does not want his money in the bank and puts $100 under his bed every month. Under his name in the 3rd row, type a formula that will calculate each month and show the total in the account. Then drag it down for 4 years he's in college. So he's going to put $100 under the bed each time. What can we do for a formula?
Equals A2 plus 100.
Almost B2, because we're on the
Right,
second column,
B2.
but yes, exactly. Equals, and then it would be B2. You could type B2 or you can hit B2 and it'll put it in for you. And then we're going to add 100. Now, when you drag this down, notice it changed it, B3. Go to the next one. It puts B4. So it keeps adjusting the formula all the way down. We can go back. All the way down. So at the end of 48 months, he will have $4,800 under his bed. Plus Marcello's. Any questions? Is everyone getting those values? So then if you click on B30, you have the formula equals B29 plus 100. Any questions? See what Marcello's doing. Marcello says, well, I just had my graduation party from high school. So I'm going to put $500 of the money that I received into a savings account and leave it there for my 4 years of college. I found one that pays 5% a month interest. Under his name, in the third row, type a formula that will increase his balance by 5%. Let's drag it down for the 4 years. So we want to increase by 5% each month. Don't forget your equal sign. What do we have to remember for Excel? What do you use for multiplication?
Yeah.
An asterisk. And the asterisk is on your 8. Should be on 8. So you put your starting amount. Oh, no, wait, we want to do the one before. It's easier. So you click on the one before, and then you multiply. We use the 1 plus trick, 5%. So you could use equals C2 asterisk 1.05 or in parentheses 1 plus 0.05. Either way, you get the same answer. Is that what everyone used? Here, the corner, and drag it all the way down. $49,052 and 99 cents as soon as I rounded. Any questions on that? How do I, oh, okay. So you highlight your data. And then you right click, go to format cells, and then click on number and 2 decimal places. Any questions on that? Click on C30. And our formula is equals C29 asterisk parenthesis 1 plus 0.05 close brackets. Any questions on that? In what month did Marcello's savings pass Antonio's savings back up? Because to start with, Marcello put more money in. But I think it was here. In the 7th month, Antonio passed them up. But Marcello passed him back up, notice right here, in the 47th month. It took a while, but that interest rate did finally pass him up. So Marcello passed Antonio back up in the 47th month. Any questions on that? How much of the money in Antonio's savings did Antonio put there? He has $4,800. How much did he put there? All of it, because he was putting the $100 every single month in. So Antonio put all $4,800. Marcello, who now has more than him, $4,952. How much did he put in?
500.
Yeah, he only put the 500 in and then he let the interest make the money for him. I don't think you can find a 5% interest rate anymore. They're around 5%. Awesome. Any questions? Is everyone getting the values? Positive.